I love playing in the key of G because there's so many open strings you can utilize and so many flavors you can do. Today, I thought I was going to show you just a few licks that I use when I'm playing in G. I'm working off the first position G chord. You can play it lots of different ways. Sorry, don't play that way. Like that. I call this a big cowboy G once I'm hitting the 3rd fret on the B and the 3rd on the high E. I get that sound, and then I lay down the rest of the G chord. Pretty cool. So sometimes what I'll do is I look at, I was just watching I can't remember the guy that was teaching a really good lesson, and he was talking about Jimi Hendrix and how Hendrix would work off of his chordal shapes a lot. And, you know, like if you've heard Hendrix, you know, or he'll do like a, it's really effective to work off chords like that. I call them internal melodies. In the case of just a plain old G chord, just the humble G chord, right? Some of the things that I like to do, I like to work off the D and the G string, and I'll hammer on the 2nd fret of the D string and let that G ring out. Now that's a really simple lick. Most people can handle it, right? But what's nice about it is it will actually serve a purpose as an intro. So you can do slow motion, like come down on that G chord. It's a way to get into something. Or it could work if you're just doing like some rhythm changes, whether it's could be G, D, C, like, so it could be like, well, I'm mostly working off the G chord, and then I'm going G, D, A minor, C. I'm not doing a lot on the D or the A minor because I don't want to overburden the rhythm, you know, and keep the groove going. So check it out. Here I'm just keeping it straight, A minor 7th. And when I get to that C, I'll probably add a little ornamentation. I'm doing is coming off of the hammering on the 2nd fret of both the D and the G. And if you want, you could actually let those 2 strings ring. Hear that? Okay, so here's what that would sound like, and then I'm gonna move on to some higher licks. So kind of setting the groove, right? And then on that C, sounds like the band a bit. And if you want to walk up to that C, you could go. That's open 2, 3 on the A string, and then see how that strings together. Now, if you want to jump out to some higher voicings, you can still stay in that same. I'm looking at this as a G bar chord. I'm looking at how can I lick off. I'm going to get a lick off that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hammer on the 5th fret of the B string while I'm holding down the 3rd fret of the high E. It sounds like this. It's pretty common country lick you hear. You hear it done a lot of ways. It might be like this. See, I'm hammering onto from the 3 to the 5 on the. Now I'm targeting those 2 strings, so I'm careful not to hit any other string. Make a little vibrato. Or you can just do it. I'm going to do it in slow motion. You can do this. So I'm going to hammer on again from the 3 to the 5, and you can let it ring. That's kind of part of the magic of it. And it sounds funny to do it slow, but pretty cool. Or just hit it like this. And then from there I'm going from the 4 to the 2 and then the open on the G string. Okay? So it sounds like this in totality. You've heard that lick before. And again, you know, these little licks that I'm showing you can be done. There's no, you know, hard, fast rules like what order everything should be in. It's just not like that. It's basically, I call it a vocabulary lick, because if I'm in the key of G, I need to know where can I go that's like a foolproof, bulletproof lick that'll work every time, okay? Well, I know, regardless of what kind of G chord I'm in, whether it's that big cowboy G or just a regular, I know that by hitting this, working those notes, I know it's in the G major scale, so it's going to work. But what's great about those open strings, I don't lose the groove of the rhythm. It's not like I'm trying to play a fancy, you know, that's going to interrupt my rhythm. But the beauty of playing in the key of G is when I'm just getting a groove going, I want the groove to keep going. It might be just a solo guitar gig, right? You've heard that a million times. To a C. This isn't any particular song, and at the same time it's 1,000 different songs. So what I'm really trying to illustrate here, and what I really want to give you guys in a lot of these lessons is, you know, on YouTube there's a million different tutorials showing you chords, showing you scales. I don't really get into a lot of that. What I really get into, and I call it, if I'm in the blues idiom, I call it blues you can use. I try to give you guys things that will, enhance your playing and add a little spice to it on the one hand. And at the same time, you won't lose the groove when you're playing, if you're playing a rhythm and you're just playing it solo or even with a second person. The flow will stay, you know, the connective tissue will be in there, and the flow will not, you won't lose it whether you're singing over it or not. And so what I'm really teaching you is more than just licks, it's more than just riffs. It's actually the approach of how it works within the context of rhythm guitar. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. So I'm not gonna go too deep here. I showed you a couple of licks. One of them was, and then it's utilizing the D and the G string. Work just off that second fret on both strings, the D and the G respectively. Those are always going to work when you're playing a G. You're not going to get lost there. Many ways you can phrase that melody. Pretty cool. And then you might be going to a D. Walk up to the C, and again I'm using that. And the luxury there is I'm letting that B string ring out a bit. Hear it? Slower. So I'm kind of stabbing it. And I mention that because the timing thing on how you apply these licks, it's good if it has some, I don't want to call it, some variation to it perhaps. You know, the way that people like Willie Nelson and Ray Charles sing, they seem to sing around the beat a lot. And I think that's what makes their singing really, really special. If you apply that, because, you know, playing guitar, a lot of times the fills we do are nothing more than almost like a vocal line, right? So I try to approach it like the way a singer would, so it's not just always in time. you want to stay in time when you're playing, but in the context of playing a lick within some chordals, I call them chordal melodies or whatever. It should have sort of a casualness to it, you know. Keith Richards is so good at that. It's just a way to express, really, with an interior melody or a chordal melody. Okay, so that's just a little taste of what can be done. If you like this kind of stuff, I cover a lot of ground at jimmydillon.com. I cover a lot of this in my courses, and we kind of go way deep into it, because some of the courses are, you know, an hour or two, even 3 hours long. So if you like this kind of stuff, it's available to you there. If not, you know, if you want to just check out my YouTube lessons, you know, gosh, they're out there. There's a lot of them, and they're free, so check it out. But I appreciate you coming by, and I also appreciate any comments or ideas that you might have, because that's how I get inspired of what to teach. Somebody will say, hey, can you do a little Cat Stevens, or a little, maybe show me the feel of a Van Morrison song or a Bob Dylan song. And because I grew up with this music, you know, I've been exposed to it since since they were young men. I just nailed my age, you know, which is getting on, but that's okay. I get to hear all the cool bands. So I'm going to play this out, and I'm going to, as I like to do, I'm going to go ahead and stretch out, take some artistic license, and stretch out a little bit on this to show you guys where you can go with it, if you want to go deeper with it, whether you discover on your own, or, you know, with the help of a teacher or mentor or whatever. So here we go. See you down the road.